Stay connected to your project teams anywhere, anytime.
Electrical's 10 minutes ahead of you.
Not for long.
Huh, you caught up.
I always do.
Start collaborating. Download a trial of Bluebeam Review for 30 days at bluebeam.com/collaborate.
So tell me about this project. This is the site in Kansas City.
Right. Downtown Convention Center. And this is kind of an industrial district that's really changing now into kind of an art district. And beyond it is the redeveloped new downtown, so to speak. So this is really the transition area that connects downtown with the new development. And it's an escarpment. It's high and then it drops. And when you stand here and look out, you're seeing like the prairies, just a big, I mean, the earth looks circular. You just see the curve of the earth. So when I saw the site first time, and everybody had assumed that a performing arts center would face downtown and sort of would enter this way, I couldn't resist because I kept turning around and looking at this escarpment and the view. And I decided actually to turn the building around so that there's a road here, comes through the site, and you enter and rise into the building from below. But of course, that created another problem, which is a proscenium theater in the back of the halls, as we call it, is now facing downtown. And generally, the backs of theaters don't look very, very good because it's the big, boxy proscenium theater. So if we look at this model, which is the cross-section through the proscenium theater, this is the auditorium, and that's the size of the proscenium. We created this geometry of structures, which is a series of arch-like structures that sort of undulate. They almost have a musical scale about them. And they act like the backbone that hold the whole structure up. They contain the proscenium within them, but they also form the anchor for a catenary structure, a cable structure, suspended, just stretching out. And it first is metal, stainless steel, but then it becomes glass, and it's supported only by cables and tied down like a tent, and that's the lobby. And that glass lobby is facing that whole amazing view of the city.
If we make a sketch here.
You know, so the first idea is you think of this as there's two halls. Actually, first there were three halls. So think of them as kind of musical instruments, like, you know, there's one instrument. I'll draw something that looks like a cello. And, you know, there's another one, which is maybe the concert hall. And then maybe in the future might be another one. And these are then kind of, they're like, I'll just draw them like the color of, the wood color of an instrument. And they are sort of tied together by a rear structure, which then is hanging and closing and creating this glass lobby. And I'll draw the glass as blue and maybe turquoise. And so what you get is a feeling that there's that glass tent under which are these musical instruments. So we're getting here this sort of glass structure, and it's supported by these masts and tied down by these cables that keep it down. And the road weaves right under it. And then you go up into the concert hall. If you come from downtown, you enter between the halls. And this way, you get this kind of great transparency. But on the city side, we have this amazing kind of geometry of these arch-like structures that in between them have these canyons. And since there are two halls, there's one, there's the other, and we're coming from the downtown, the main road is on axis. There's a beautiful gateway where you slip right through. You'll see that when you're there. Slip right through, into this great big glass lobby that faces the view.
So this is why you say you turned the building this way.
Right.
Maybe you thought that the glass, or someone said maybe the glass should be on this side, but in fact you wanted to look out towards the view.
Yeah, everybody who had looked at that site naturally assumed you come from downtown, there's a main road, it's called Central Street, and you enter the building. And so the lobby, which is always the main face of the building, is facing the convention center in downtown. And I started there too as I looked at the site. But it was the first day I was there. By the evening, we were having dinner with Julia Kauffman. And that dinner was in a restaurant that's somewhere here, not far from the site, looking towards the site. And so if I was to sort of sketch what we were seeing is there was this sort of hill of downtown with all the towers that make up the downtown building, and the convention center with its little mask right there, and the district of the warehouse district that's in front of it, and we're looking at that, and that's the site. And so I was saying to her, this building somehow has to face this extraordinary view and the city looking south. And we will somehow create a great gesture of these structures that are sort of crowning the hill. And this is that glass structure through which you see these great auditoria that are like these musical instruments. And I actually made a sketch that sort of predicted the building pretty precisely. In terms of its feel on the site.
So you refer to the building as looking kind of like musical instruments. How did you do that, or how do you mean by that?
Well, you could do a building where there are two halls and they're internalized by a singular form. You could see a shape that sort of contains within. If you think about most performing arts centers that have, Lincoln Center, you see Hall A, Hall B, Hall C, but most of them, there's some wild singular. There would be wild singular form under which you would I would almost use the word hide the different halls. I wanted each hall to very much have its own presence. So if this is one hall, and this is the other hall, the concert hall, and this is the Proscenium Theater and the Opera House, then being side by side, each of them has its own identity. You can see that in this model. As they sit side by side, this reads as one instrument, this reads as another instrument. They're united or integrated together by this great glass tent. But the hall itself reads like it has its identity. And because of the shape of it, the geometry of it, I thought I would give it a kind of a metaphor of being an instrument. And this is kind of enhanced or amplified as you go in, because when you enter the concert hall, and once you enter it, this is all wood. We see a model here that's an abstract model, all made with white cardboard, but as you enter the hall, it is all made with fur. And you kind of almost feel like you're entering a string instrument. Mm-hmm. But that whole geometry that's part of the exterior experience of the building, with these stainless steel sort of arch-like elements that sort of play with the light, is re-experienced on the inside. And in fact, the organ, the great organ that's hanging out there, fits right into this, and you're reading these arch-like elements, and skylights are positioned facing the sun, facing south, and letting the light stream in and bounce on the reflective material of the organ and into the stage of the orchestra. So when there's a matinee, when there's a concert during the day, daylight is part of the experience of this room. So this geometry that's exuberant on the exterior is experienced on the interior as well.